Hi y'all, Risha with Pecan Creek Ranch, and today's video is not a video I had planned to do. I do try to plan most of them, but it's something that happened spontaneously with the horses yesterday. And in fact, a lot of our training and ways that we try to get horses prepared for working with clients and in doing this intense work that we do in equine assisted psychotherapy and learning is spontaneous. I went ahead and videoed it. It was really fun. And if you're an EAP or EAL practitioner, I think that you'll find this video very useful and helpful. If you're just a horse person, if you're someone who trains horses or you have a horse of your own and you're wanting to improve that work and that relationship with your horse, I think this might be helpful to you too. So let's start. All right, so yesterday I had gone out to feed and realized that I left something out in one of our round pens after seeing a client the day before. So I went by to grab it. It's not anything that the horses haven't seen before, but for some reason when I was bringing it back to the office, a few of the horses became very intrigued by it. It's this. This is called the Hoverman sphere, and it is something that we use. You may have seen this in my video that I did about some activities that you can do for equine assisted psychotherapy and learning that incorporate rhythm. It's one of these things that we use for that. It gets used for all sorts of different things. I could tell you lots of stories about this little tool and how it has come to play in a lot of our sessions. But today we're going to focus on how the horses were impacted by it yesterday, and how we use things like this to interact with our horses in ways that help prepare them for the intense work and learning and some of the stressors that come along with doing equine assisted psychotherapy and learning. So I'm going to go ahead and narrate for you guys. I'm probably going to turn this part off where you won't be seeing my face, but I'm going to post the videos here and do some voiceover and kind of discuss with you a little bit about why we do things like this, what I was doing in the video, and how it can impact your horses, how it can impact your relationship with your horses, and how it can impact their growth and learning in interacting with others in the world around them. Okay, here we go. Okay, so you can see here, by the time I pulled out the camera, this is Iris. She had already looked at this thing on the ground and stuck her head in it. And this has really intrigued Kai and Gemma. Now, she could panic with this on her head, and I don't want her to be flooded, although she did stick her own head in there. So I went ahead and took it off and started backing away with it to make sure that she wasn't being overwhelmed by it, although her body language said she was fine. So we played with it some more. She got it on her head, and then she took a bite of it, picked it up, and that startled her. Okay, now she's very startled by it. But you can see how quickly she came down and started to relax into it and wasn't so worried about it anymore. But let's go ahead and take another look at it in slow motion. She picks it up. She realizes it's not coming off. This scares her a bit. She almost runs into Gemma. She does hit Gemma's rear with it a little bit, which startles Gemma. But all the horses stay relatively calm, which helps her stay calm. I stay calm, which helps her stay calm. And she realizes she's okay. And she relaxes. And she starts thinking about it, getting curious again, and exploring it again. And this is a really important process. She went up the arousal continuum. She was able to move her body and try to manage it and negotiate it herself, complete the stress response, and come back down the arousal continuum. This is very important. And then she let me help her with it and get it off. And she chose to keep her head down in there. She was not too stressed out by it. She's not dissociated. She's not checked out. She's still very curious. And this is the kind of thing that we want our horses to be very adept at. Being curious, coming up and down the arousal continuum, having freedom of choice in movement, being able to explore, move their body away from something if they need to when it's scary, and be able to have the capacity and the wherewithal and the confidence to come back and try again and really figure things out. This makes their world feel a lot safer, and it makes it a lot more manageable for them when clients are having strong reactions, when they're going through extremely big reactions, big emotions, are completely stressed out and reacting in ways that could be extremely distressing and scary for really anybody. And it's often very scary for the people around them. So when our horses can have these experiences where they can safely explore these things and they can experience the safety and connection with me and with each other, very important. They experience that co-regulation. Then they have these neural pathways in their brain for what it's like to deal with novel stimuli, things they haven't seen before, things that might be unpredictable, things that move in funny ways, things that they don't know right away if it's something that's going to hurt them or not. These things are so important for helping our horses get the skills and confidence and just the care that they need to be able to handle the work that we do that can be very distressing and very stressful. So you can see this isn't like a formal training session. This was just something that spontaneously happened, and I recognized the opportunity and I recognized what we could do, and I kept doing it. And we played with this for quite a while. right under Iris's legs. She's totally okay with it because she's recognized this is not an object that is scary or hurtful to her. And I did absolutely very little. I didn't train her to not be scared of it. She was able to explore it herself and come to the conclusion herself through her own experiences, through the feedback that she got from me and from the other members of her herd, that this was safe. Now Kai, you see him, he's still not quite certain about it. Although watching his sister, Iris is his half-sister, look at it and navigate it has gone a long way to help him. This is usually Kai's process, is that he watches his sisters do it first, and then he gets up the courage to go and look himself and start playing with things himself. And that's kind of how their relationships have developed, and it seems to be the most supportive thing for him. So I want to point out that this wasn't something that I set out to train them with or train them on. It really is something that came up spontaneously, and this is not the first time, just so you know, this is not the first time these horses have seen this object or spent a little bit of time playing with it. But even if they've seen it before, it can still feel strange and novel to them. And it's not something they see every day for sure, and not something that they play with every day for sure, not something we throw around them all the time. So there is always some learning to be done with this kind of thing. So I recognize the opportunity, and we go ahead and just keep playing with it. And as you can see, it's still fun and intriguing, but it's not too scary. So I recognize that Kai still had some opportunity with it, so I played with him a little more with it. And Kai sometimes needs a little bit more work, a little bit more opportunity with these things than his sisters do. He's just a different horse, you know. His sisters have grown up with us, and Kai, we didn't get home until he was about 6 months old. So he hasn't had the full experience, but he still has mostly grown up with us. But he's just a different horse. And as you can see, it's not too distressing to him at all. But throwing it around like this and doing things that are a little unpredictable, this is the stuff that you can do that helps prepare your horses for the unpredictability of clients and helps give them the resources that they have within themselves to manage this, so that you do not have to be managing them all the time, but so that you can properly support them during your sessions and not have to control everything they're doing. And you can have the peace of mind of knowing that they have the ability, because you have already seen it, you have already helped them develop it, you have already explored it with them. You know that they have the ability to handle some stressful situations. You also know when their window of tolerance is being stretched and when they have reached their limits, because you've had experiences like this with them, that you can more accurately predict their reactions and their behavior to things like this. That's why this kind of stuff is so important. And, you know, it's just fun. You can see we're at liberty. We're just living our lives. We're living our lives together. We're having interesting conversations with each other within our bodies and our nervous systems, at the nervous system level, at the emotional level, about these things. And this is generally how we train, quote unquote, train our horses to be therapy horses, if that's what you want to call them. We don't really, they're horses, you know. Who's to say if they know that what they're doing is therapy? We're really mostly concerned about how they are able to be in this world. And the way that they are in this world and they're allowed to be in this world can be therapeutic to people or not. It just depends on the experiences that we allow them to have, the opportunities that we give them, and how we interact with them. It's so very important. We have to be aware of how our interactions impact them, how the world around them impacts them, how what we ask of them impacts them. You can see here that Juno kind of paused. She was like, I'm afraid to move with that thing between my legs. And she needed to experience it moving through her legs, going and checking it out again. She says, okay, that helps her complete the stress response. She had a little bit of a stress response. She kind of froze. She wasn't completely gone in freeze. She was more like on a pause, I think. She was worried, but I wouldn't say she was in fear or terror. She was worried about it a little bit, but then we figured it out together, and she saw that it wasn't such a worry. So we're going to try here with Kai again. Now, sometimes with him, I have to be careful, so I'm reintroducing just to be sure that he recognizes what's happening and he doesn't get too startled or surprised or thrown out of his window. I know I'm making it sound like he's super jumpy or startly. He's not. I just recognize that he's a little bit more you know, people would say sensitive. I don't think that's a bad word. He is a little bit more sensitive. And so I just want to keep that in mind with him. I don't have to tiptoe around him because of it. That wouldn't be good. That would only make things worse for him, and communicate to him that the world is a scary place and that he should definitely be afraid of it. No, I just want to listen to it. I want to be aware of it. And I want to recognize how that impacts his ability to navigate these types of experiences. And I want to work with that. So when I kicked it through his legs, it was a tiny bit of a startle. And then he went back and relaxed. So we played with this ball, I don't know, probably for a good half hour at least. This was maybe 20 minutes. Well, this portion of the video was about 12 minutes. And then I started to leave, and they chased me down again. They weren't done. They weren't done. So we played with it some more. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to that part. Okay, so here I decided to take it up a notch. I put this thing on my head. If you've been around horses or dogs or animals or cows, you know that something by itself is one thing. Something on you or in your hand is another thing. So this often increases novelty. I had to let Cloud out there, so he got to be a part of this too. So here we go. So keep in mind that I now have this thing on my head, and I'm walking around with this thing open and wide on my head. And as you can see, it's now novel again to Iris. She comes up to look at it. That's her mom right there, Sissy. And she's checking it out because it's new again. So we're checking it out together, mom and daughter, co-regulating together along with me, who is remaining calm. Now, if I wore this and I did this and I was worried and afraid, and I had energy in my body that communicated to my horses that this was something to be scared of and worried about because I was concerned and scared about how they might react, I can suddenly change this into something that is scary to them. So it's very important that I regulate my own nervous system to help with this. Here's Juno checking it out again. She says, no big deal with it on you. Those are my dogs. So I'm going to go up to Cloud here because he hasn't had much interaction with it today, and he can be a horse who can startle quite easily. So this is something that is important to work with him on. When opportunities arise, he looks at it. He's like, what are you doing, you idiot? You look goofy. I don't know if he's thinking that. I have no idea. But you can see he's definitely wanting to check it out. He's a little bit alarmed by it. You can see by his eyes how wide they got. And then he decides, it's not something to be worried about. Now, the reaction of the other horses probably helped him out with that quite a bit. Because Iris says, Cloud, this is something that's fun and intriguing, and it's definitely not something to be worried about. So she goes to playing with it some more. And I'm going to go ahead and speed up this video and fast forward so y'all can just see what happens here with this thing that is now novel again because I'm wearing it. Okay, here I pause because I notice that Kai is just a little bit more attuned and aware of it again. He's got a little bit more tenseness in his body about it than he had before when it was on the ground and when I wasn't moving around with it so much. So I'm going to just pause here. And I'm pausing because before I get closer and move Kai up the arousal continuum and get him stressed out about it, I want him to figure out and think about it and learn about it and explore about it when he's lower on the arousal continuum. I'm not going to wait till he's already stressed out. And so I'm going to pause, and I'm just standing here and I'm being very calm and relaxed and slowly allowing him space and time if he wants to come look at it and explore it some more. And Ira says, I'll help by communicating to him that it's safe. So he says, well, I think I do want to check it out. So here he is. Comes and he checks it out. He knows when we do this kind of stuff that he has the freedom and the choice to move his body in ways that feel safe for him. I'm going to do my best to be attuned and connected to him. He decides it's not such a threat. He realizes I'm in there and that he can ask me to scratch his rear. So I do. This also helps us building a relationship in which he feels safe with me and will help later on when we enter more stressful situations. And now here's some more footage, because I still wanted to play with it after this, of Juno and Kai playing with it in their own unique ways. I'm just going to put some music on here and you can continue to watch if you want. Don't miss the end. I talk about this a little bit more and about some other things that you can use and that you can do to do things like this for your horses. Okay, I know I said earlier that you probably weren't going to see my face again on this video, but I wanted to go ahead and pop on here and show you guys some other things that you can use, some novel tools and toys that can be intriguing and interesting to horses and that can help you grow their window of tolerance for facing new and challenging things. So this is one of them. This is called a flow ring. This is also something that we incorporate in our work with clients. I don't know if I had it on the other video or not, but this is very fun. There's lots of different activities that you can do with something like this. I was introduced to this through one of my natural life-manship trainings, actually, this flow ring. So you can thank them for that. This one has been fun. It's just a little pinwheel. But boy, is that intriguing, scary a little bit sometimes for the horses. Offers some good opportunities for exploration in relationship. These are one of our favorites. In fact, our horses are so used to drums. So you can see how that can be used to help them navigate new sounds, surprising sounds, things that are loud. So there's the drum. Let's see. Oh, these are really great too. I think sometimes our horses think this sounds like feed in a bucket. I love it. And then, let's see. Oh, we have some smaller versions of the Hoverman spheres. They're really fun. They're easier to kind of carry around with you. We keep some of these smaller ones in these boxes that we have at our round pens that have a bunch of tools that we use. The boom whackers you saw in that other video, I'll make sure I link it in the cards somewhere, of some activities that you can do with clients. Those are in our boxes. We keep those in there too, so that we always have a few fun kind of tools available for our work. So let's see. There's two more I want to show you. Give me just a second. Okay, this is called an ocean drum. I think this also sounds a little bit like feet in a bucket, but the horses, once they kind of get used to this, it's so amazing. They really play with this quite a bit. One of the reasons I love that is that you can really use it to feel energy in your body. This one is a kind of a loud one. They do make some that are softer, but you can really feel the energy in your body, and it can help you regulate your energy and figure out how to communicate with your horses through the energy in your body and have control and regulation of that energy in your body. This is a really amazing tool. And one more. Okay, this is called a flitter ring. We have done some really amazing fun things with these, especially in groups. This is a fun one. So you can, let me see if I can get this going for you here. I'm gonna get this going for you.
Wow!
This is a fun one. You can get this going and you can pass it around in a group. And it really helps you work on connecting with others, how we interact rhythmically, because you saw when I messed up the rhythm, one of these things quit spinning and I kind of lost it. And when you start passing it to someone, you do have to become attuned. You have to pay attention and you have to be very present with them. You have to regulate your own body. You have to co-regulate with them. And it's just a really, really fun thing that you can use for groups. Those are just some of the things, the unique training tools that we might use to help give our horses some experiences that help expand their window of tolerance, expand their ability to handle stress, to handle novel things, so that they are better equipped for the work that we do in equine-assisted psychotherapy and learning. I hope this video was helpful. If you found it helpful or you know someone who might get some use out of this, please go ahead and share it. Like and subscribe if you haven't. I hope to see y'all back again. And as always, take care of each other.